Okay, please make sure that you have one of these Wellington Designs handouts, and you'll need some writing utensils, maybe a highlighter. And just remember that you're going to want to pause the video if I get ahead of you and you're not able to write everything down, because you will need to show your work. You're also going to need a separate sheet of paper to show your calculations. So if you need to pause and go get that right now, or if you'd just like to open your notebooks, you can do the calculations there. So here's our scenario. You are the engineer for this house. The following is the lower level of the house. You will need to find the length of each wall and the area and perimeter of each room. You will then use that to determine the cost of this project. So this is going to be kind of a 2-day project. I'm envisioning that it will probably take you most of today to complete part 1, which is the front of this worksheet, and including this video. But if you finish with it, you are going to check your answers and collaborate within your group. Make sure you all agree and that you all know how to calculate these things. And then you're going to have it checked by Miss East to make sure that this side is done. You cannot go on to video part 2 until Miss East checks your work and gives you a star. So make sure that you follow those directions. So if you're not familiar with a floor plan, the idea of a floor plan is that it's a scaled down version of an actual thing. And we use floor plans for blueprints so that people can make a plan for their house and builders can use it and so forth. But with every blueprint, every floor plan, there's always a key or a scale. So down here, let's highlight this. And this is called our scale. This is telling us what the connection is between the drawing and the actual. So 4 boxes is to 3 feet. Means that if you count a length of 4 boxes down, like right here, this is going to represent 4 feet in real life. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is fill out our dimensions. So the first thing is the dining room. So if you look at the dining room, what you're going to need to do, and I am not picky about what is the length and what is the width, but to figure out the length and the width of the dining room, you are going to count how many boxes this way and how many boxes this way. So pause the video and take a minute to count those. Okay, so we're going to go down here. So for the length of the dining room, and this is where you're going to need some extra paper. I put a piece of paper over here, but you're going to show this work on another sheet of paper. So if the length is 18 boxes, that's what I got when I counted it. So across here I counted 18 boxes. What we're going to do here is we're going to set up a proportion. We're going to take our scale and we're going to turn it into a fraction. So 4 boxes is to 3 feet. As 18 boxes is to how many feet? So this is a really good review of what we did earlier this year. One thing we want to do is notice that boxes and boxes are both of our numerators units, and feet will be both of our denominators units. So we want to find how many actual feet our living room is. Our dining room, I'm sorry. So let's rewrite this, except let's drop off the units so that it makes a little more sense. And instead of a question mark, let's put an X. What we see here, when 2 fractions are equal, this is called a proportion. And we spent a lot of time first semester talking about solving proportions. It will be on the M step, but in working with some of you, I've seen us really kind of forgetting that. So to solve this proportion, we do cross products. So we do 3 times 18, and we write that down. 3 times 18 is 54, and that equals the other cross product of 4 times x, which is 4x. And now you should be really good by now at solving this. So when you divide both sides by 4, you get x is equal to 13.5. Well, let's think about what 13.5 means. 13.5 goes up here, So that means the length of our dining room is 13.5 feet. Okay, so now we're going to do that again for the width. Well, when I did the width, I counted down here, and that came out to be 15 boxes. So in your notebooks, you're going to set up another proportion. 4 boxes is to 3 feet, as 15 boxes is to x. So again, when we cross multiply, 3 times 15 is 45. That equals 4x. And when we divide both sides by 4, x comes out to be 11 1/4, or 11.25 feet. So we're going to go back up here. Our width is 11.25 feet. Okay. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we have to calculate the area of this dining room. Now, do not highlight all of this because you're going to need this for later. But when you think about area, we're talking about all of this space. And I want you to think for a minute, why would a homeowner be concerned about the area of a room? Well, first of all, they might know the size of their furniture, and they could see if they have enough floor area to fit their bed, their dresser, a chair, so forth. But also, the homeowner is going to have to put something down on this area. They're going to either have to put carpet or tile or hardwood floor, and they're going to have to calculate how much of it they're going to need and how much it's going to cost. So down here for the area of the dining room, remember that area, since we're in a square shape, is length times width. So we're just going to multiply these. So 13.5 times 11.25 is 151, and we are going to round to the nearest tenths place because we don't want to be short. So 151.9 square feet. Okay. So the next thing we have to do is we've got to measure the perimeter of this room. Now think about, why as a homeowner, what could we possibly be purchasing if we want to measure the distance all the way around the room? Well, a couple things I was thinking of is, right off the bat, I was thinking about molding. The little pieces of wood that you put at the bottom of your room to kind of seal the carpet and make it nice and neat. But if we are doing that, usually you don't put molding across the doors. And notice that we've got 2 doors here. There would be a gap here, so that's really not perimeter. So perimeter would be something we'd put all the way around the top. So I guess you could do molding. Some people have crown molding way up at the top of their ceilings, between their wall and their ceiling, a nice piece of molding. Another thing that's kind of old school now, but a few years ago, people used to put a border, and they would wallpaper a border to the wall way up at the top of the ceiling. Okay, so either of those scenarios, we're going to need the perimeter. Well, how do you find the perimeter? Well, the perimeter is to add up both the lengths and both the widths. So we're going to do this. We're going to take 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Because instead of adding 2 of them, you could just multiply by 2. And when I do that, I get a perimeter of 49.5 feet. Okay, so you are going to continue doing this for the entire room, or the entire, I'm drawing a blank, the entire house. When I look over these things, this list, kitchen we know, for the pantry, it doesn't show it real clearly, but you can assume that the pantry ends right here. And we have to decide where technically the kitchen would end. Okay, so I think for our purposes, let's make the living room come up like this. And let's say that the kitchen would end right here. So as you can see, the kitchen's going to be an irregular shape. So you're going to have to think about the kitchen in terms of two rectangles added up. Okay? Same thing with the garage. Oh no, the garage looks like a straight area and so forth. Okay, just to throw in a little bit extra, can you please add the covered porch? And when you get to the covered porch, do you guys see that you are going to have to do a rectangle plus a triangle? So we're going to cover the covered porch is this rectangle plus this triangular piece. So when you come to length and width, that's really not going to be appropriate. We're more focused on the area of the covered porch, because then you get to actually do a triangular piece. Okay, so you are going to work on this independently. You can collaborate a little bit within your groups, asking a few questions, but everybody needs to know how to do these calculations. But then again, as you finish, you need to agree and then have Miss East check it. So when you're finished with that, that is part one of this project.